So just want to thank everyone again for joining us for our first annual Family Law Now Live virtual summit. In terms of our chairs today, we have Bill Rogers, and Bill is a managing associate lawyer at our firm. His courtroom experience includes numerous motions, several full-blown trials, and he also had the privilege of winning a major family law victory at the Ontario Court of Appeal in 2014, which prevented the imposition of a proposed 2-year deadline on property claims by common law spouses. When he's not practicing law, he loves spending time playing music with his band Soul Custody.
Who's the pitcher though? That young guy.
Very funny, Brian.
Isn't the band called Parenting Time now, Bill?
No, we had to change it to sole decision-making responsibility, and we haven't been getting very many gigs. Weirdly, people just don't like the name.
Doesn't quite roll off the tongue the same.
Yeah. Doesn't have a hook.
Exactly. Right? And the picture, I adopted the policy of sticking with the first picture I ever used. Unfortunately, I'm not like Dorian Gray. I wish the picture aged and I didn't.
Is that your high school yearbook photo, Bill?
Very funny. Thanks for pointing that out, guys. I need some Grecian formula.
I'll move on for your sake, Bill.
Thank you, Shannon.
So next we have Russell Alexander, and Russell is the founder and senior partner of Russell Alexander Collaborative Family Lawyers. With over 20 years of experience, Russell offers a wealth of knowledge and expertise in collaborative family law. He uses his experience with a client-focused approach by creating unique solutions for each of his clients to enable them and their families to move forward with their lives in a compassionate and collaborative manner. Now I will pass things over to you, Russell, to go over your opening remarks. And then I will do a bit of housekeeping following that before we go to our keynote speaker, Brian.
First of all, I want to thank everybody for attending today. We've got some great numbers, 370 people signed up for today's program. I want to thank Shannon and our events team who've been working tirelessly for 3 weeks to put this together and organizing this event. Most importantly, I want to thank Bill for being co-chair and also all the speakers that we have lined up. They're volunteering their time and expertise. One of the speakers is coming in from Europe and her holiday to join us. So I'm really grateful to have such a great lineup of speakers to presenting. We were talking a little bit about all the changes that we've experienced in the family law profession over the last 2 years. It's really been quite overwhelming. People often ask Brian and myself how the firms are growing so quickly when some lawyers seem to be struggling. What we've been doing over the last 2 years is taking the best of our marketing and intake and developing it into a software company we're working with in Seattle. You have some more details over that over the lunch break, but it's some pretty innovative stuff, and I'm really excited to share that with our audience today. Back to you, Shannon. Thank you.
So in terms of the agenda today, we will get started with Brian Galbraith's keynote address on the future of collaborative practice very soon. We're very honored to have Brian here joining us today. At 10:30 following that, we have Collaborative Divorce 101 with Carrie Heinzel, Natalie Derbyshire, and Cindy Shizbin, along with Russell. At 11:45, we'll have Voice of the Child with Jonathan Painter, Golan Yaron, and Russell Alexander. We will have a brief lunch break from 12:45 to 2 p.m. And once we come back from lunch at 2 p.m., we will have Divorce and Property Sharing Advanced Topics with Nafisa Nazarali, Carolyn Warner, and Bill Rogers. And we'll be finishing off the day with Bill, Russell, and Michelle Mulchin for a presentation on advanced topics in common law. So that's what we have on the agenda for today. Really looking forward to that. So day 2 will be starting at 10 a.m. again. So we have a keynote address with Julia Mekanich, and she will be doing an address on diversity, why family-centered divorce services require an integration of inclusion, diversity, equity, and accessibility. Followed by that, we'll have a presentation at 10:30 with case lines and how to e-file your divorce documents with a court with Caitlin Swindles, Michelle Mulchin, and Russell Alexander. At 11:45, we have a presentation on spousal support with Margie Primero-Pimentel, Susanna Critchlow, and Bill Rogers. At 2 p.m., we will have a presentation on divorce and income assessments, and 3:15, divorce and business valuations, both presentations with Melanie Russell and Ankit Varma. We're really looking forward to the next couple days. Quite a few of these presentations have been accredited by the Law Society of Ontario as well, so can count towards CPD hours. And yeah, so without further ado, I'm going to now introduce our keynote address speaker, Brian Galbraith. Brian Galbraith has been practicing family law for more than 32 years. He owns Galbraith Family Law, which has 16 lawyers practicing family law with offices in Barrie, Newmarket, and Toronto. And Brian is the incoming president of the International Academy of Collaborative Professionals and an international leader in the collaborative movement. So it's now my pleasure to pass things over to Brian.
So I just want to say thank you very much to Russ and Bill and Shannon for inviting me here. I'm pretty excited. And okay, so today I'm going to be looking into my crystal ball and predict where collaborative practice will be going in the future. Now, I can't guarantee any results because the truth of it is that my crystal ball exploded when the pandemic struck. I mean, nobody saw that coming. So, you know, I may be totally off about my predictions, but I'll do my best going forward. So I just wanted to say that the other day I found a document, Russ, that you would have loved. It was a document I had a hand in creating for the Ontario Collaborative Law Association, and it was our protocols. It was dated something like in 2003, and it explained the collaborative process step by step. First, you do this, and first you meet your client. Second step, you get retained and do a special collaborative retainer. Third, you send a letter to the other party. Fourth, you agree and retain a collaborative lawyer. Back then, few people were trained. So it was really a challenge to get the other party to a collaboratively trained person. And then you get the participation agreement signed, and so on and so forth. It was very dogmatic. It was very rigid, but we needed it in those days. This was a real paradigm shift for all of us. We didn't know what we were doing. We needed a roadmap, and boy, did we ever create a detailed roadmap. We wanted the process to be linear, predictable, and noble. We were scared, frankly, that we might crash and burn. But as we went along, the diversity of process developed. We're no longer doing cases the same way for every family. And it varied from city to city, practice group to practice group, state to state, and country to country. There's been quite a proliferation of different models. In those early days, mediators feared us and hated us. They thought we were a threat to them. They said our process was flawed. Things have changed since then. So since those early days, we became artists. In many parts of the world, we started to embrace the interdisciplinary model of collaborative practice. Mental health professionals began working with us and bringing with them a whole new perspective on divorce. As lawyers, we were shocked to learn that emotion was a normal part of the process and should not be ignored. Who knew? And financials brought a whole new perspective to the case too. They could truly help the clients maximize their finances. And it was amazing. And again, they brought a whole new approach. Eventually, Ontario was no longer a lawyer-only process. And frankly, our success rates were getting better because of it. Each case was looked at as a unique challenge. We had to find a way to help this family. The process steps were based on the family before us. Dogma went out the window. We turned it into an art. Every case has become a unique, beautiful piece of art. And that's a good thing. And I think that trend will continue. I'll talk more about that in a few minutes. Traditionally, we met together at a table with our pen and paper in hand. until the pandemic. Most collaborative professionals had never done Zoom or worked virtually. We relished the personal face-to-face meetings. Yeah, and it worked well. But when the pandemic hit, of course, we all had to pivot, right? We also had to adapt quickly, and we began meeting with clients on phone, by phone and using Zoom. We had full team meetings using Zoom, and we learned what a breakout room was and how to use that effectively. We learned about screen sharing and digitally signing documents. But frankly, the one thing we never really got down pat is when to be unmuted and when to mute. Even today in this session, someone had to say, "Hey, Brian, unmute yourself if you want to talk." And I don't know what is it? Why can't we figure that out? Anyway, so let's do a quick poll. This is just for the collaborative divorce professionals here. So Shannon, if you could put the poll up and see how that goes. So if you're a divorce professional prior to the pandemic, how many collaborative cases did you participate in using Zoom or a similar platform? So just to make it just an estimate. Give you a couple of minutes.
I thought you were joking about the polls, Brian. This is fantastic. I love it.
I had to make Shannon scramble this morning, and of course she managed.
Well, you make it interactive, so it'll be really interesting to see what the results are.
Yeah, I can't see how the results are coming in, Shannon. So when you can end it when you judge it appropriate.
Gonna give it a few more seconds here just based on the numbers.
Sure.
Brian, I remember a time when we used to read the practice agreement
Right.
paragraph by paragraph to the clients. Remember that?
Absolutely. So look at that. 81% of you did 0 cases on Zoom or a similar platform. 17% did less than a third, and only one person out of 69 who voted did somewhere about between 34 and 66%. Okay, so let's go to the new poll. If you're a divorce professional during the pandemic, what percentage of your cases were conducted using Zoom or a similar platform? So during the pandemic.
Brian, I didn't even know Zoom existed until the pandemic.
I know a lawyer in Ottawa who bought Zoom stocks prior to the pandemic.
Wow.
I think you know him, Brian. You know Chris. I'm not going to say his
Yeah.
full name. But he was certainly well ahead of the game at that point.
Yeah. He's a smart man.
I heard he caused the pandemic so his stock would go up.
All right. So during the pandemic, 58% of you did 67 to 100% of your cases on Zoom. I'm surprised the 27% did 0. I don't know how you practiced during the pandemic if you had to do it in person. Our experience has been that we've done all of our cases using Zoom. And in my opinion, that's not going to change. I think that what we're going to see is more and more cases going forward in using the virtual platforms because it's so efficient and effective. Do we have another one poll? What's the next poll? Yes. In 5 years, what percentage of your collaborative cases will be done virtually on Zoom or whatever nifty platform exists at the time? What do you think, for those who are divorce professionals?
Can I ask you a question, Brian? I'm not sure if you're going to cover this. What do you think of CP study groups? Keep it Zoom or go back to in-person? Because a lot of people really like that in-person connection, right?
It is nice, but I think you get a much higher percentage participation and on a monthly basis when you keep it on Zoom. But then, you can add to that social events that are in person, and I think that's the way to go. That's just my opinion. So it's 47% say about half, and 30% say 67 to 100%. Yeah, I'm with you. I think that we're going to see a change. It's going to be still be using Zoom and platforms like that, but we may have hybrid meetings where some people are attending by Zoom, some are in person, and we're already starting to see that right now as the pandemic wanes. We're starting to see more hybrid meetings happening. For me, I love the virtual meetings because it's so efficient. We can use breakout rooms. We can share our screens easily. And so it just keeps the cost down for the client, and it makes for an efficient process.
And
so
don't forget, Brian, also the beauty of Zoom is full touch up of my appearance. I don't want to give that up. I've got full touch up on right now.
And I'm so excited for the future technologies that we don't even know about. Most certainly, I think we'll be doing cases in the metaverse. And so I could see the day when we meet with our avatars online to discuss and resolve family law cases. It will happen. I mean, it sounds weird, it sounds corny, but it's inevitable as the metaverse becomes mainstream and acceptable to everyone. Virtual reality has already begun to creep into the legal world. In China, they used virtual reality tools in a criminal trial about a couple of years ago. So the jury could actually feel like they were at the crime scene when they were using their virtual goggles, like the person in this slide. But we don't even know what new technologies will become available to us in the future, of course. But we need to embrace technology and use it to our advantage, lest we be cast aside as being outdated and irrelevant. So I think that's the future, is we're going to see a lot more use of technology going forward. We've already seen a movement toward the integration of mediation and collaborative practice. Mediators are now starting to mediate cases and then insist that the parties hire collaborative lawyers to finalize it. Why? Because the case won't head to family court if collaborative lawyers are involved. And we're kindred spirits, right? The collaborative professionals and mediators all want to help the client resolve their matter without going to court and minimizing the pain. In some parts of the world, the mediators are being brought in halfway through the collaborative case if impasse is being hit. So you're working with your team and you reach a wall, you can't resolve it, introduce a mediator into the process, and they'll bring a new skills, a new perspective, and help you get through the impasse. In other jurisdictions, in Seattle, I believe it is, mediators are part of the team from the very beginning of the case. And I see this going forward as becoming more and more used by collaborative professionals, using mediators to help them. In Ontario, as many of you probably know, our collaborative group has an annual conference with the mediator group, because frankly, many of us do both mediation and collaborative practice. And it's been a huge success because we are kindred spirits. There's no longer that fear or a dislike between the two communities. We're becoming one with a focus on helping clients resolve cases without going to court. So we've got another quick poll, Shannon. Have you involved a mediator in a collaborative case? So if you're please answer only if you're a collaborative professional. But yes, often, yes, I've tried it. No, mediate, I got this, and don't need no dumb mediator.
Mediate. Brian, what's the distinction between a family neutral and a mediator? How would you we're talking about two different professionals, right?
Yes, well, because like the family professional or the financial professional, they're bringing to the table a lot of knowledge and information for the clients. The mediator is strictly focused on process and helping the clients resolve any issues between them. They're not providing any suggestions or research or advice in any way. They're just they're so it's a similar role to the role that's played by both the family and financial professional, but it's strictly related to process. Yes, 19% have often used them, 28% have tried it, 53% have never tried it. And nobody said mediate. I thought I'd get your vote for that one, Russ. But so,
They don't let the panelists vote. So
that's true. That's a good thing, Shannon. That I think is going to continue to evolve. We're going to continue to see mediation and an integration of mediation and collaborative practice. I think the biggest changes will come as we become more diversified in our professionals and in our clients. In the early days, as you may recall, some practice groups only allowed you join the group if you've been practicing law for like 5 years or even 10 years. They felt that you needed to have been in the trenches of family court to know your stuff and be able to do collaborative practice. Frankly, it never made sense to me, because those people who were entrenched in the court system had a much more difficult paradigm shift when they came to collaborative practice. But as a result of that, our collaborative professionals and our clients have been white, upper middle class and educated primarily. But our world is changing. And as our world becomes more integrated, we're seeing more variety of people entering the collaborative practice space, and we're becoming less homogeneous. And this is a good thing. With more diversity among our professionals, we're going to see more diversity among our clients. And we're also becoming younger. Thank goodness. During the pandemic, I helped train with my training partners.
Except for me, as you pointed out earlier.
You're younger than I've ever, I think of you as a 5-year-old.
I walked right into that one, Russ.
emotionally, yes, a 5-year-old.
With my training partners, Bev LeMay and Carrie Heinzel, we probably trained about 150 new professionals during the pandemic, because we were doing it on Zoom. And most are very young, are new to the new professionals, and they bring with them new ideas, and they come from a variety of backgrounds. The diversity of backgrounds that we saw during our trainings was amazing and wonderful. It makes for a much richer community. My good friend and next year's president of the IACP, Julia McKinich, will be talking more about the importance of equity, diversity, and inclusion. So I'm not going to steal her thunder. She's going to be great. But increasing the diversity of the professionals, and she speaks tomorrow morning at this time, increasing the diversity of the professionals and the clients will mean new family structures, new issues, new needs, new wants. This is going to take our art form to a whole new level. And we're no longer just following the dogma of the protocols, right? Our artistry will become even more enriched, and we are looking for ways to meet the needs of all these new families. So that's going to have a huge impact on what collaborative practice looks like in the future. I love this stuff. And as Russ said, I'm becoming the president of the International Academy of Collaborative Professionals in October. I love IAC because I've learned so much from participating in it. We have an international conference each year called the Forum, and it brings together the cutting edge professionals from around the world and cutting edge trainers from around the world. And I found when I took my collaborative practice skills to a new level when I attended the Forum. You also just come back so energized and excited and feeling like you're part of a worldwide community of peacemakers doing some really important work. So this year, the forum is in October in Orlando, I should say, Florida. So you should come. It will really blow your mind. And next year, I'm excited to say the forum will be here in Toronto. So there's no excuses for you not to come to the IACP forum. And I tell you, when you do, you'll become hooked, just like me. Okay, so to summarize, what I think is we're moving toward is simply creative solutions for families. We'll be using technology to help our families regardless of their wealth, and we will be diversifying in terms of the professionals and the clients. We'll be working with mediators and other professionals to develop new ways of helping. We're seeing new processes emerge already. For example, the streamlined flat fee process that was developed here in Ontario is being used by people in many jurisdictions of the world because it's effective and efficient. And we're just going to see the emergence of more and more new processes going forward. And we're going to see a greater diversity of our professionals and of our clients, bringing new challenges, new family structures, new issues to the forefront. And we're going to continue to be working to understand each other and working together with allied professionals throughout the world. So it's exciting times, and I'm really glad to be a collaborative professional. I think it's exciting what we're going to see in the next few years, and I look forward to being there to see it all. So thanks very much.
Very
Good luck
inspiring.
with the conference. I think it's going to be awesome.
Very inspiring, Brian. Thank you.